joining me right now. You just heard it from Spencer Tillman, Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN.com. DJ Bien-Aime. DJ, are you proud to cover a team with a winning record? Because guess what, DJ? You do.
Proud? No. I mean, I had nothing to do with it. I just show up, write about it, and go on with my day.
But you're not covering the Jets now, and you're covering a Texans team that is not a disaster anymore.
Yeah, no, that's
I think
cool.
you deserve credit for that.
I think that's cool that I'm covering a team that isn't a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
You
were with us through the trials and tribulations. You earned your Texans fandom is kind of miserable star. And I know you're a reporter. You would never root for a team. You would never root for a team.
I would not root for a team that I cover.
Yeah, you can't do that. But
no.
But hey, you've earned your depressing stripes, and here you are covering a winning team, baby.
Isn't it crazy how like a whole year ago that the Texans and Colts were playing for they were jockeying for draft position, and the Texans, oh my God, they blew their chance to get Bryce Young. Oh my God. And now a whole year later, they're in a position with CJ Stroud where they could win the division. Possibly if they win and then the Jaguars lose, they could win the division in year one under CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans. So that's why I always say tanking doesn't really guarantee anything. Just win and hire who you need to hire, and everything's gonna fall in place the way it's supposed to fall in place. Because it's rare that, as much as people want the number one overall pick, how often is the number one quarterback taken in each class the best quarterback in that class? It's not. Yeah. It's actually far few in between. In all actuality, I think it's just a guy that has who is viewed as the best prospect. But being the best prospect doesn't always equal to being the best or better NFL player. So as we see right now, it's a wide gap between CJ and Bryce right now. So the Texans are in a great spot. They hit on a quarterback, and in my opinion, that's actually more important than hitting on a head coach. They hit on the quarterback, and now they're in a position where they can make the playoffs.
I'm glad you brought up that Texans-Colts game.
Yeah.
When I was doing my little post-game spiel on my side hustle.
Your side hustle.
After the game.
Halloween's over, bro. You don't have to be Batman anymore.
Oh, I wish they would pay me for that. Be a professional cosplayer. I would do that. I'd have no shame. But I was talking about how it wasn't just that they played the Colts the last game of the year. I just think back to that awkward as hell press conference where they had fired Lovie Smith, and then they just sat Nick Caserio up there for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And it felt to me like the McNairs, who were sitting amongst us with the reporters, were clearly sending a message to Nick Caserio, bro, you're next if this doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And from that moment in time on, it's just crazy to where they have gone. Because I think at that moment in time, the probably correct assumption was that they're going to have a really hard time figuring this out. They were a laughingstock. They had all sorts of drama with the quarterback, with Jack Easterby. And now here they are. And I mean, you just feel great about the future.
Yeah, I mean, in the NFL, you can turn it around quickly, right? The Bengals were considered a dysfunctional organization. And then in a blink of an eye, they got Joe Burrow. Everything changed, right? Again, you can find team after team after team. The Jaguars, even though, because before they won the division last year, they were an absolute tire fire where you could guarantee they had double-digit losses for almost a decade. And then they get Trevor, and then the next year they end up winning the AFC South, and they could win it again back-to-back years. So it's crazy how things can flip on its head. Usually if you hit on the quarterback, that could just change the trajectory of your franchise, and the Texans did that. They hit on their quarterback, and now they're in a position where they can possibly win a division, get in the playoffs, and possibly win a playoff game. Because we saw what it looked like once they didn't have CJ. Not saying DeMeco isn't a good coach and things of that nature, and Bobby isn't a good coach and things like that, and blah 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 blah. They don't have a good staff. They do, but it's clear as day in today's NFL. If you don't have the guy at quarterback, then your ceiling is severely compromised. What the Browns are doing is an anomaly, right? Most teams look like the Bengals, where you'll have like, a little streak where you look okay, and then it comes back to earth. Same with the Vikings, like Joshua Dobbs. Oh my God, this guy is so smart. He can go to space. He's so smart. Rocket scientist. He's on the bench. Now,
right.
They start Nick Mullins. He has a couple good games, and now he's on the bench, right?
Jaron Hall now.
Jaron Hall, and he gets benched. Like what the Browns have done is more of an anomaly. And same with the Colts. But then again, like Gardner Minshew is like a low-end starter, so like you can always hang on with a low-end starter.
He's what Case Keenum used to be.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good comp. So the fact that they hit on the quarterback has given them, just viability for the rest of like his rookie contract at the bare minimum.
Right. So while we're talking about that quarterback, DJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat reporter, ESPN, how would you grade C.J. Stroud's performance on Sunday?
I give it a B. Like you can tell, still knocking out some rust. But then again, like the Titans are really good in the red zone. And they moved it in between the 20s. It's just they have the second best red zone defense in the entire NFL. It's probably one now after last weekend. They're just stout in the red zone. So, I mean, they give that. That's what allows them to stay. Because you don't see that many games where they get blown out. And that's the reason why. Because you trade field goals. I mean, if you're just fortunate to kick field goals, it's hard for them to put you away. So I'll give it a B. First game back. Threw for, roughly under 220 yards. Had one touchdown, no interceptions. Had a pass rating, I think around 100. I was out of 99 or 105, one of the two. But that was, it was solid. It was a B+ performance. I think this week I think B will also work against the Colts, in my opinion, because I think the defense, as long as they can get pressure on Gardner, you won't need like a crazy performance from CJ. But then again, like this is Texans defense, you don't know which version of them you're gonna get on. Like we know what version we're gonna get with them when they're at home, minus the Browns game. That was an anomaly, but we know what version we're gonna get with them at home. We do not know what version we'll get with them on the road. You just don't know.
Yeah, they have been very inconsistent all season long, and it is interesting that the one team the Texans defense seems to really play well against, it's the Titans, who do have some good players. Everybody else, it's been a bit of a wild card, and the more of a backup the quarterback seems like, the more likely it seems that quarterback is going to tear the Texans up. It was pretty interesting that Ryan Tannehill came in and all of a sudden the Titans offense was clicking a bit. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins got a lot of his numbers with Tannehill in the game. But to bring it back to Stroud, what I noticed, DJ, he was taking what was there.
Yeah.
We've heard him this year before complain or just say, hey, we'd like to be a little bit more explosive. I think he said it after this game as well. But I did like that they did play it very safe in that they weren't doing anything that was going to let him get smashed again. Of course, he's coming back from the concussion. And that instead of trying to force things, which we've seen him do a little bit in the red zone, instead he was just saying, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out the back of the end zone. And again, it's not like sexy, but you do want to see that from your quarterback from time to time because there have been moments this year where it did feel like Stroud was trying to do too much. There's a happy medium between, I think, the conservative guy that we saw on Sunday and that crazy guy who is fun to watch, no doubt about it, but could potentially end up costing you in a moment. And a game like the Colts, which is coming up on Sunday, it's one turnover is probably going to be it for either team, I think. That'll be a huge difference. I think both these teams have been very careful with the football in the games that they've won this year. It's pretty obvious that's sort of how it works in the NFL. But it's one of those things where I like seeing that from Stroud as far as you're getting to that time of the year where one interception can doom you.
Yeah. You just will hope that if you have a turnover, it's earlier in the game. Because, each snap just increasing in terms of importance now. I mean, they're basically they've basically been in playoff mode since Chark got hurt because that Titans game was basically, look at it now, that was a de facto playoff game for you, right? Because, like, in reality, like, if you lost that game, you for sure going to lose that Browns game because we saw how lopsided that game was.
Right.
So right now you'd be what? 7 and what would it be? They'd be at
7 and 8.
Yeah, they'd be
7 and 9. They lost to the Titans, and if they had lost, they would have to be 8 and 8 right now. They'd be 8 and 8 right now.
Yeah, they'd be 8 and 8.
We're
right
not good
now.
with math.
Yeah, we're not good with math as you guys here. We're better with talking. But they'd be 8 and 8 right now. The season be done. Right? It'd be more like, if they could get in, if this, a bird grows a head, an extra head, and you lose a leg, the team, whatever, they get moved to Alaska, then maybe you can get in. But it can take all those type of scenarios where it was like going to be damn near impossible. But they won that game. They won both of the Titan games, and now they have a chance at the end of the year to, if they beat the Colts, they get in.
I'm going to do one of my colleagues a little bit dirty here and paraphrase in a way that isn't exactly a true reflection of what was said, but on draft night, after the Texans traded up to go and select Will Anderson after taking C.J. Stroud second overall, DJ Bien-Aime, a man by the name of Jer Bear Branham may have compared this night where the Texans drafted C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson to Pearl Harbor. Oh. Now, I say that because he said this could be a day that will live in infamy. He did not say, like, oh, this is as bad as Pearl Harbor or 9/11. So Jeremy did not say that.
So you're just adding that in.
I'm just saying that, like, that's the thing that came in my head when I was doing that show with him. When he said that this is a day that will live in infamy, I was like, oh, so the Texans draft, Pearl Harbor, same thing. What do you make of the Will Anderson pick now? 2 sacks, obviously, we see a limited sample size, and it does make him look a lot better now that he's got 8 on the year.
I think it's 7.
Is it 7 now?
Yeah, I thought it was 8.
Oh, God, these people changing the numbers on us. We can't even be trusted with the numbers now. We can't figure out how to say 8 and 8. We don't know how many sacks Will Anderson has, but he has 2 sacks on back-to-back plays.
Yeah.
It's probably overstating it and being like some of those bobos that are online that will like post a graphic of a guy that says like, oh, he had 2 sacks today. He's finally figuring it out. But was this his signature rookie moment?
No, I wouldn't say that. Nah. But like he doesn't need a signature rookie moment. I mean, he's been pretty good throughout the year. We look at all the advanced metrics. It was more like he just wasn't getting the sacks, but he's tied for the team lead in quarterback hits. Obviously, he has the best pass rush win rate on the team. He just, obviously he got hurt. He missed a couple games, so he could have had 10 sacks this year. I mean, he's been second in team in sacks, set a franchise record for most sacks by a rookie. For me, the trade came down to, because this is what people were criticizing him about. It was more about, believe it or not, it was just more about, oh, you gave up a pick that's going to be top 5. That's what it came down to, right? Like people, as we said on our pod when it first happened, people were not looking at the roster.
They were looking at the schedule.
They were looking at the schedule. They were looking at the logo of the team and thinking,
right.
Texans, oh, stupid Texans. You traded a first-round pick. You traded your first-round pick. That's going to be a top 5 pick. Oh, my God, Arizona Cardinals are going to pick 1 and 2. And the next coming up draft, they're going to Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's what people were saying. So that's what it really, really came down to. It wasn't about really, from people's perspective, oh, this team needs a lot of talent, and they gave a first and a second. It was more the first that they gave up that people thought was going to be a top 2, top 3 pick, and we both kept saying this roster's a lot better than you realize, right? You add in Will, you add in Sheldon. Obviously, Gennard was going to be healthier for this next year. He was going to do better in this system that fit his skill set better. Obviously, now he has 12.5 sacks. Derek Stingley was going to be better this year under the system. He has 5 interceptions in 9 games. We thought, obviously we thought Jalen Pitre was going to have more of a productive season.
He's taking a big step back.
He actually hasn't taken.
You don't think so?
No, I think what we think from a viewing perspective, what we think should happen isn't what he's being asked to do, right? Yes, he did get benched in the Browns game, but that was more just, okay, you got to be over the top to help 37 on that deep ball against Amari Cooper. D'Amico was just trying to try stuff because you saw the next game Jalen started. There's a lot of plays where we think he's beat, but it might just be like the Broncos game where Derek Stingley catches that soaring interception. And it looked like Sutton cooked Jalen. No, they had a double team, and Jalen was to be very aggressive for anything that Sutton did on a in or out breaking route, and Sutton faked in, so Jalen jumped in aggressively, and then you had Derek Stingley over the top. I think his coverage has actually been better than what the common fan or media guy thinks. It thinks, because
interesting.
There's a lot that he's being asked to do that's a little bit different. That just because it's little things, right? Where on that specific play that I'm talking about, right? If you think that he has Sutton and he just gets cooked, now it's like, oh my God, Derek had to save you. No, that wasn't really what it was. That's why Matt Burt the other day said, nah, Jalen's actually been good in coverage this year. So he actually hasn't taken a step back that we would think. I think his statistical production just hasn't been there compared to last year in regards to Jalen Pitre.
Last year, he had a lot of tackles. We'll go back to Will Anderson in a moment, because I do think what you said is interesting, because the big problem for the Texans has been, like, they're just not good against deep passes. And there were a couple of moments, I thought, on Sunday where they were lucky that things did not work out in their favor. I think it was the first drive of the game.
Yep.
There was a receiver who had a step. Traylon Burks, right. The second drive of the game, Chris Moore, he beat him. Will Levis put the ball in a good spot. Moore, just the former Texan, lost the ball.
Yep.
And then there was another play right before halftime where it did feel like the guy that was closest to DeAndre Hopkins, and I could be wrong on this because I'm watching it from the 800 level, but it did feel like they run this post route, and the guy who was maybe the only person who could have made a play on the ball was Jalen Pitre, and he didn't there.
Right.
So what you're saying here is that at least the team is looking at Jalen Pitre and maybe not believing that his coverage has been as bad as we believe it. And we might be also putting all the safety coverage together in one box and thinking it's all been bad because of all these deep plays.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So I think I think it's been better than what the common fan, common media guy thinks. Obviously the entire safety room could be better in terms of just coverage skills, because again, like, there's been a lot of miscommunication play after play, throughout the year. But there's some times where it might be on the safety, but it looks like it's on the safety, but it's on the cornerback, right? So I think them as a whole haven't been as good as we thought they would be as a whole. So I think a lot of it has just been more about miscommunication on the fly. But I think they're gonna have to just clean up those little things in that capacity. But as I said, going back to Will Anderson, this team is, again, the trade came down to you gave up your first-round pick. People thought this team will be bad, right? But what they failing to realize was, again, the Texans invested a lot on the offensive line. So CJ was going to have a better offensive line than most quarterbacks taken in the top 5. We had questions about the receiver room, but we thought the running back room was going to be better than what it actually. We thought Dameon Pierce was going to be better than what he has been this year. But the actual running back room has been fine, right? Because Devin Singletary stepped in. He just crossed 1,000 yards from scrimmage this past week. We knew Dalton Schultz was going to be productive, and he has been. The D-line has been better. The linebacker group has exceeded expectations, but the roster was actually much better than people want to give it credit for. And now they're 10-7. Now you hear nobody talking about Will Anderson. Because people saying Will Anderson got to be a double-digit sack guy, and the Texans got to win a whole bunch of games. Will Anderson isn't a double-digit sack guy. The Texans might go to the playoffs, but they're going to have a winning record, and their pick is going to be in the teens to the 20s. You don't hear a peep about the Will Anderson trade now.
He had 2 sacks in a game where Jonathan Grenard, their leading sacker, wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And I know that this is going to be a little bit disingenuous putting it out like this, but through the first 16 games of each of their careers, Will Anderson has been more impactful than J.J. Watt.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Things flipped for the first playoff game because J.J. Watt had the most important play in Texas history with the pick six against the Bengals. It was like, whoa, oh my God, they're going to win this game.
For sure.
And then, of course, his next year, he gets 20 sacks.
Yeah.
But no one thought he was going to be that guy going into his second year. I remember Peter King wrote that he thought Brooks Reed was going to have 20 sacks in the 2012 season. It ends up being J.J. Watt. Brooks Reed was good his rookie year, for what it's worth. I think Reed had 8 sacks or something like that in 2011. So, look, what Anderson's done has been good, and I think what he did on Sunday in particular was great, considering that there was no Jonathan Grenard, and also to give Nick Caserio some flowers, because there's some people in the Twitch that are going after Caserio right now. I mean, Derek Barnett comes in, he has a sack and a half. They found that guy essentially on the street, right on the side of the highway.
Yeah.
So the pass rush has been really good. I don't know why the pass rush has been as good, specifically against the Titans, as it's been. Maybe the Titans' offensive line.
Oh, the Titans' offensive line is a joke.
13 sacks in 2 games against that Tennessee team.
It's a joke.
Is that something that you feel what they're doing against the Titans? How the hell can this defense look like that against the Colts on Saturday night?
I would say that the coverage is going to be tight on the back end, because there is this misnomer that, if you have 4 and they can get to the quarterback, you'll be able to, disrupt, which is true. But like rushing coverage go hand in hand. So most times you have to be able to, your secondary has to be able to hold up in coverage to make a team hold the ball for an extra second, and then your pass rush can get there. Because pass rush, they can't get there in 2 seconds unless you're dealing with like a freak athlete like a Myles Garrett or or someone just comes off unblocked. So you're going to need your coverage on the back end at least hold up for 3 seconds to give those guys time. And they did that. Because, again, like, you're not going to get 7 sacks because your secondary is – if your secondary is getting cooked, that's virtually impossible, right? So I would say that for them to get a bunch of sacks, they're going to need their secondary to show up and be able to be sticky in coverage. But, again, like, I think they'll be more than capable of it because, again, like, the Colts receiving core is solid. Michael Pittman, 1,000-yard receiver, Alex Pierce. But I like the Texans secondary over their receiving core. They're just gonna have to like make sure, because last game they beat them a lot on like short passes, mesh concepts, things of that nature, and that really cooked them a lot of yak yards against the Texans in week 2. But again, that was week 2, so I can't even put too much stock into that. They have a whole season of film against Gardner Minshew, so they'll be able to attack some of his weaknesses and things of that nature. And to be honest, I would say, you really want to get him, make him hold the ball and make him try to create. Because when he tries to create, that's when bad things can happen. So that's what I would suggest in that regard. Try to find coverages that make Gardner Minshew hold the ball and then make him create, and then you'll get some turnovers.
Interesting. Okay. Well, and look, they still have a shot to win the AFC South, depending on what happens, obviously, Saturday night. Now, they're going to need...
The Texans?
They need the
Titans to win, yeah.
The Titans to beat the Jaguars. Is percentage likelihood of that happening?
I mean, me personally, I from a personal perspective, I would prefer the Jaguars win.
Yeah.
Texans win. Texans, whatever. But Steelers win.
Okay.
So then, when Miami takes care
of... you're just talking about the Miami Dolphins.
When the Miami takes care of Buffalo missed the playoffs completely.
Yeah?
That'd be great.
Well, what happens if the Bills win and then the Dolphins don't win the division?
Well, I think the Dolphins will be on the road to go to Kansas City.
Yeah, okay. See, listen, that's all fine and dandy. What are the chances, though, that this actually works out for the Texans and they win the AFC South? Because obviously they have to beat the Colts.
The issue is the Titans O-line is so bad, and the Jaguars 2 edge rushers and Trayvon Walker, who I think has 9 sacks this year, he's actually turned into a good player. He's really good against the run, starting to become a better pass rusher. And you have Josh Allen, who's been a freak monster this year, coming off the edge. Like, they're just not going to be able to block those guys. So, yeah, I just don't see a scenario where the Titans win.
I would
say like 1%.
CJ, I like to say beat hard. CJ Beathard with the Jaguars against the Panthers. I mean, the Panthers are they're just not a real team at all. So they wiped the floor with them. It was 26-0. There's a part of me that wonders if the ease with which they won that game with a backup quarterback makes the Jaguars, who had lost 4 games before that one in a row, it makes me wonder if the Jaguars once again take another team lightly, and if they perhaps play down to the competition.
So. People don't play down to competition if it's in division. Now, if it was like another team that was outside division, yeah, but teams don't play down. No, that doesn't happen.
I want to see it happen.
Nah,
trying to manifest it.
No, like upsets happen, but taking a team lightly that's a divisional opponent does not happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And also, NFL teams don't take teams lightly in that regard. Like, they might not be sharp on details, small details, but they don't take teams. This isn't college. Like, any team can get beat in that regard.
Right. That is true on that front.
Yeah.
Well, listen, DJ, we appreciate you stopping by.
Yep.
Always. And you're going to Indianapolis on a Saturday night. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Well,
a lot of fun. You go to St. Elmo's?
No, I gotta switch my flight to Friday.
Oh, they totally screwed you.
Yeah,
dude.
No, I gotta switch my flight to Friday.
And you gotta spend a Saturday night in Indianapolis, which in my opinion is just a god awful city and should be removed from the United States.
I also have to there's so much. Yeah, and it's actually expensive. It was actually almost $800 to fly in Indianapolis. I don't know
what.
Yes.
Why?
Like booking it last week, it's like $600 round trip to like $1,000. I don't know what's going on in Indianapolis that weekend.
You gotta fly on Spirit instead, man. Come on.
Even Spirit was expensive.
Spirit was expensive?
Spirit like $500.
Oh, what is going on?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Indianapolis, but they need to fix it.
Thanks, Pete Buttigieg.
They got to fix it.